All right, everyone, welcome to the 2025-26 NFL season playoffs. We have the bracket here right in front of us. This has been a crazy year of football. We've had a lot of upsets, a lot of player performances that are not quite what we expected or have completely blown our expectations out of the water. We have not really had a team or two in each conference that's been super dominant. Denver really has not been. Yes, they have a great record. Yes, they have the bye, but if you look back, look at how many games they've barely won. Look how many games they've barely won against teams that are under 500. Um, yeah, lots of crazy things. Obviously, the Eagles are not as hot as they were last year. If I would have to choose a team that's been the most dominant, I would have to choose two in the NFC. That would be the Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams. I think those guys are neck and neck, even though Seattle has the bye and the Rams don't. They've both been very good. Yes, I'm a Seahawks fan, so I'm a little biased, but their defense is legit. Their offense can get really hot when Sam Darnold's not turning the ball over, but that's something for another video. This is not a Seahawks video. Um, with that being said, we do have two teams in each conference that kind of limped their way in. Three, if you want to count the 49ers with all their injuries. But the Panthers, who are under 500, not only are they under 500 and 8-9, but they got into the playoffs off a loss. The only reason they're in is because the Falcons beat the Saints. Otherwise, it would be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. Another team that barely got in, Pittsburgh Steelers. They did not look good pretty much all season. Well, I don't want to say that. They've had some crazy circumstances with suspensions and stuff, but they got in off of a missed field goal by Tyler Loop of the Ravens. So the AFC is wide open for anyone. With that being said, we're going to start on the NFC side with the Panthers and the Rams. The number 5 seeded Rams are going to take a trip down to Charlotte to face the Panthers. This is a rematch. We've already had this. The Panthers upset the Rams last time these two teams played. I do not see that happening again. I think Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, Puka Nacua are going to clean up what they had last time, and they're going to get this win comfortably. I see the Rams winning this one 31-17. That Rams offense is just too good for the Panthers, who have really not played good football the last 2 weeks. With, two games to potentially get into the playoffs if they just won, they didn't. They could not handle business against my Seahawks or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, that's not a great track record going into the playoffs. So, and they've just been alternating wins and losses pretty much all season except for the last 2 weeks. So, that's not really a strong reaction for a fan to see. But yes, I have the Rams moving on in this one to the second round. Moving on, we have the number 3 seeded Eagles and the 6th seeded 49ers. San Fran's heading down to Philly for this one. This will be an interesting game. Obviously, these two have met up before in the playoffs in that championship game a few years back. Brock Purdy obviously getting injured in that game, and it just really wasn't much of a competition. But time's a little bit different. A lot of injuries still for the 49ers. Obviously, they do not have Nick Bosa. They do not have Fred Warner. They really don't have any linebackers. I think they signed Kazir White off waivers, but that's pretty much it. We still don't know the status of Ricky Pearsall or Trent Williams, so those will be huge factors going into this game. I think if those two are out, the Eagles will win this one. If those two are playing, I think this really becomes an even playing field. The Eagles' offense this year has been terrible. They are last in the league in 3 and outs, so they're going 3 and out 30% of the time this year. That's crazy. However, like I previously mentioned, the 49ers defense is decimated with injuries. They have no pass rush. Their linebackers are all out. Their safeties are okay. Really, their only bright spot right now is Diamond Lenore. That's it. And unfortunately, the Eagles have 2 wide receiver ones on that team. So he can only cover really one. And that's if they play man. They like to play a lot of zone. So I don't think he's going to be able to save them solely handed. So they're going to need help. whether it's someone stepping up or the whole defense just bending but not breaking, they're going to need that drive or two where they get a turnover or a great stop, and their offense is pretty much going to have to be perfect this game. With that being said, I do think this is going to be a shootout just because I think Philly's offense has been so inconsistent, and the 49ers offense has shown that they can be a Super Bowl caliber team. Obviously, last week against the Seahawks, they had nothing going at all. Philly's defense is similar. They're very good. They're very quick at getting pressure, obviously, with that defensive line. However, I do think the 49ers are going to be able to recover from that game, especially if they have Trent Williams and Brecky Pearsall back. I think this one is going to come down to the wire. However, I do see Philly winning this one. Tight game, 38-41. Philly limps out of this one barely, and they head on to the divisional round. The next matchup, we have the number 2 seeded Bears hosting the 7 seeded Packers. This is now the third time we have seen this matchup this year. They split the season series. Obviously, they had that crazy overtime game just a few weeks ago where the Bears pulled out an incredible win after a 4th down prayer touchdown and a onside kick to send it to overtime, where they ultimately won after making the Packers turn the ball over. So, really interesting. I will say the Packers have pretty much dominated the Bears in 8 quarters this year. They have outplayed the Bears in both of their matchups. Yes, they tied the season series, but the Packers played better football over those 8 quarters of football. They just did. This is the playoffs, so everything is reset. You don't take any of your regular season accolades into this game. This is clean slate. The only thing that comes with you is injuries. And right now, Micah Parsons is not playing for the Packers. He is out for the year. So, that's a huge blow to this Packers team. The Packers really should have won that game. They had many opportunities, especially on that 4th down. And, that onside kick. And they got the ball first in overtime. They had so many opportunities where they could have won the game or at least just made it extremely difficult for the Bears to. And they just failed. I don't know what happened, but, obviously that can't happen here. And, Green Bay's a little banged up. They're going to get Jordan Love back this week. They're going to have Josh Jacobs back. They rested all their starters last week. Chicago did not, and they lost to Detroit. That was a really interesting game. The only reason they're playing the Packers right now is because the Eagles did not play their starters. So, really interesting. But, with that being said, upset alert, everyone. I have Green Bay winning this one 23-21. And they move on to the divisional round. I love the Bears. I think what they've got building is great. I love Ben Johnson as a play caller. He's so smart, and that Lions offense has not looked the same since he left. Let's just be honest. That's why they're not in the playoffs this year. They were too inconsistent. The Bears have slotted in perfectly. So, Ben Johnson is the real deal. However, he's got a young quarterback who's never been to the playoffs. He's got a very young team. And, the Packers, Jordan Love, LaFleur, Jacobs, these guys have been in this spot before. And I think that really, that's a huge advantage when you're coming into a divisional playoff game on the road where you've arguably outplayed the team that you're playing this year. So, yeah. I think Caleb Williams and I think the Bears are very talented. And I think next year is the year where you can look at them and be like, okay, these guys are Super Bowl contenders. They're going to have everything figured out because you're going to have a year more of experience for everyone on that team and the draft and free agency and stuff. But I do think the Packers pull this one out. This is the upset of the wild card round. And now the divisional round for the NFC is set. We will have the 7-seeded Packers traveling to Seattle and the 5-seeded Rams traveling to Philly. Moving on to the AFC side, we're going to do the wild card for them as well. Again, crazy year of football. look at all these teams, man. I mean, who saw the Patriots? Who really saw the Jags and the Texans? I mean, even Denver potentially. I mean these teams. I mean, no Chiefs, no Chiefs, no Ravens. That's. I mean, I don't think many people saw this coming. No Chiefs and no Ravens. That's mind-boggling to me. But nevertheless, that's the situation we're in right now, and we're gonna start with the Steelers Texans game. I think this is gonna be a great defensive battle. I think everyone knows that. There's two offenses, very inconsistent, can be pretty good, and Nico Collins, DK Metcalf is coming back for the Steelers, so that's extremely important because otherwise I think they would be dead in the water. But who knows? Houston is traveling to Pittsburgh. Gonna be a great game, I think. If you like defense, I think this is one you should watch. Oh boy, Texans have an insane defense. Their defensive line is nasty. You got Derek Stingley back there. I mean, Will Henderson, Derek Stingley. Those two guys alone are just so good. But Steelers, obviously, they just got T.J. Watt back, so that's big for them. Hayward's been good for them all year. Yeah, so a lot of playmakers on both defenses right here. I do think this is going to be a pretty low-scoring game. I do have Houston pulling this one out 17-13. I just don't think the Steelers are good enough. I don't. I don't like their offense. Their defense has been inconsistent. It's pretty good. They are getting T.J. Watt back, so I do think that'll help. They're a very mediocre team. They're a 500 team. The record shows it. Their play shows it. They're just. I don't really know. They're just kind of one of those wild card teams that they get in and then they get out. Their first round exits, unfortunately. Sorry, Steelers fans. Your team is not that good. Moving on, we have my favorite game to watch this week. I'm a huge Jags and Bills fan. I really love both of their coaches. I really love both of their teams. I love both of their quarterbacks. It's just a great game. We have the 6th seeded Bills heading to Jacksonville. This is going to be a fun game. Very electric offenses. Pretty decent defenses, but I mean, we're all here for the quarterback show. Josh Allen and Trevor Lawrence. Oh boy, I think this is going to be a pretty high-scoring game. These guys have both been in the playoffs. Trevor Lawrence, you forget, almost went to the Super Bowl a few years ago when they faced the Chiefs in the championship. They were almost there. They were there. They just couldn't beat Mahomes. But I guess that's a common theme between both of these quarterbacks. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes has beaten Josh Allen a few more times, but can't do that this year. Josh Allen has a Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson-less playoffs. This is his year to make it. If they're going to do it, this is their year. Unfortunately, the Bills are a little bit weaker than they have been, so not the greatest team skill-wise to make it, but this is their greatest opportunity, and I think this is kind of similar to the Bears situation here, where you have a great team coming into the playoffs. You're playing strong. Trevor Lawrence has been out of his mind the last few weeks. I know this week he struggled a little bit, but before this week, he was so good. So freaking good. You got the leading rushing yard leader and James Cook coming into this game as well. I think they're going to utilize him a lot this game, obviously, against that run defense. Josh Allen, though, I think he's going to have the clutch factor this game. He is going to pull this one out for the Bills. I know. I'm sorry, Jags fans. I think you're in a very similar situation to the Bears. I think you guys are just a year away. You had injuries as well. I think the Bills pull this one out 39-34. Josh Allen, he's been here many, 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 many times before. And as we've seen, when it gets close in that fourth quarter, he just kind of takes over. It doesn't matter who he has running routes, who's catching the ball, who's running the ball, what the situation is. He is going to find a way. Whether he's throwing it or running it, he will find a way. And I think he finds a way in this game against the Jags. Moving on, we have the last game of the wild card week, and we have the Patriots and Chargers. Number 7 Chargers heading to New England. Gillette Stadium hasn't had a playoff game, and I feel like in a while, and they're getting one. So very interesting. We obviously have the MVP runner-up, in my opinion. I think Matthew Stafford has it locked. But great season by May, nonetheless. Chargers are really banged up. Their offensive line's banged up. They are limping into this playoffs. Yes, they've won games, but it's Herbert. It's Justin Herbert making plays. He's phenomenal, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think the Patriots win this one quite comfortably, 37-17. They are moving on to the divisional round, which we now have set. These are your divisional opponents, ladies and gentlemen, for the NFL playoffs this year. In the AFC, we now have the 5-seeded Texans heading to Gillette Stadium, and the 6th-seeded Bills heading to very, very, very crazy Mile High in Denver, Colorado. Very fun games in the divisional round, and we're going to hop right back to that NFC side here. We're going to start with the 7-seeded Packers and the 1-seeded Seahawks. I don't think Green Bay's offense is good enough to go against the Seahawks defense, and I'm going to leave it at that. That is it. I think the Packers lose. I think they only put up 6 points, and I think the Seahawks put up 24, and they win comfortably and head to the conference championship. Moving on to the Rams and Eagles game. This one will be good as well. We have the Rams heading down to Lincoln Financial in Philadelphia to play the Eagles. Rowdy fans of the Eagles, man, and this is so difficult because you have the defending champs, right? They're in the playoffs. Maybe they rebound. Maybe they gain some momentum. They came off a good win. This one was really hard to decide, and part of it is because the Rams, I feel like, have been, they've kind of been lacking the last few weeks ever since that Seahawk game, that Thursday night game. I feel like I don't know what it's been. They just kind of haven't been the Rams, at least against the Falcons. Like their first half, the last 2 games have just not been very good. I feel like. They were down to 21-0, I think, against the Falcons, and then against the Cardinals, they were like in a neck and neck race into halftime. Yes, they both, they played very well in the second half of both of those games, and they almost won the one against the Falcons, and they did indeed not only beat, but they comfortably beat the Cardinals in that Week 18 game. I don't know what's going on with them though. And I think this wild card game that they have against the Panthers is going to be very telling in how they start. If they start off slow again and it's close, they could lose against the Panthers very well. I think it's possible. But let's just say they start off slow again and they do win. I think that really becomes difficult against the Eagles. If they start off slow again against the Eagles and their defense, I think not only they could go down by a few scores, but with that, I don't think they're going to be able to come back if they're down a few scores at halftime against that Eagles defense. And that Eagles offense has potential. They have championship potential. But I'm going to assume that we're going to get the Sean McVay coached Rams that are not off to a slow start. I do think, obviously, the defenses in this game are going to play well. I do have the Rams winning 27-24 and moving on to the conference championship to play Seattle for a 3rd time. Moving on to the AFC, we have the 5-seeded Texans heading to Gillette Stadium, Massachusetts, to play the Patriots. Great game again. Stellar offense in the Patriots and Drake May against a stellar defense in the Texans. I think that's always a great combination for some great football, just to see who's getting coached better, who's playing better. I think this is going to be an extremely tight game, and I think it's going to come down to an either last-second touchdown or last-second field goal. That Texans defense is too good. As much as I hate to say it, Patriots are another team where I'm like they're just a year away. They could win it this year. They could make it this year, but I think they're a year away from being comfortable contenders. Where I'm like, okay, I trust them. They're going to win. They're going to handle business. Drake May's never been in the spot before. Young team. They do have Diggs, who's been there, done that, but I think New England loses this one, 22 to 21. It's a 1-point win for the Texans, and they move on to the championship round. I am worried about that Texans offense, though, which is why this could go either way. I would not be shocked if the Patriots won. I would not be shocked if the Texans won. I'm just choosing the better defense, which is the Texans. And the last game in the divisional round is the AFC. Bills going to Mile High to play Denver. This is going to be a great game as well. But I'm going to be honest. I do not trust the Broncos. I mean, just looking at their schedule. I mean, they barely beat the Chiefs without Patrick Mahomes by 7 points. The Chargers did not have their starters in. They did beat them, but it was closer than the box score suggests. They got beat by the Jaguars pretty bad, 14 points. I was watching that game, and yeah, Denver, they didn't look good, and their defense didn't look good. Their defense has been kind of stifling as of recently. Not saying they're bad, they just haven't been as dominant. Barely beat the Packers. I think Jordan Love was out. I don't know if Jordan Love was out for this game, actually. He might have not been, but regardless. Barely beat the Raiders by 7 points, beat the Commanders by 1, beat the Chiefs by 3, and beat the Raiders by 3. This month stretch right here is just gross. Disgusting games. I mean, seriously. Beat the Texans, that's a good win. Cowboys, okay. Beat the Giants by 1 and beat the Jets by 2. What? Why? What is going on there? I mean, seriously. They beat the Eagles week before. Hell yeah, good job. But what is the New York teams by a combined of 3 points? Beat the Bengals. Lost to the Chargers. Lost to the Colts. Beat the Titans by 8. I mean, seriously. Beat the Titans by 8 in Cam Ward's debut with that defense. And I mean, look, they haven't scored over 20 points in the last 3 weeks. And they're on a bye. A bye can be good, but it can be very bad if you're barely getting in and you're not scoring many points and you have a bye week. I think you could go even colder. Which is why I have Buffalo winning this game 30-20. That's my upset of the week. Bills knock off the 1 seed and they head to the championship game. Josh Allen's been there before. Bo Nix has not been in this level of a game before. What happened the last time the Bills played the Broncos in the playoffs? Utterly destroyed. Yes, I know these teams are not the same. Bills have not been as good. Broncos have been better. I understand that. It's just history that I thought I'd bring up because that was a dominated game by the Broncos or by the Bills, and I think that's important. Sean Payton's a great coach. Josh Allen has the experience in the playoffs. Bo Nix does not like that, and for those reasons, I'm choosing the Bills to move on. Championship series is now set. We have the 5-seeded Rams heading to Seattle for the 3rd time these teams are going to face off, and it's for all of the marbles to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. We have the 6-seeded Bills heading to Houston, of all places. Who saw that happening? And they're going to play the Texans for the AFC rights to go to the Super Bowl. We're going to start with the AFC side this time. We have the number 6 Bills heading to the number 5 Texans. We've seen this before this year. This is not something that's not happened. We have seen this exact game earlier this year. If you go back a few weeks, Bills played the Texans in Houston. Houston won that game. Why did Houston win that game? Their defense. Their defense forced 2 interceptions against Josh Allen. Eight sacks. That is not a fluke. That is not, hey, they just had a good game. That is domination. That is pure domination. That is pure football. That is pure defense. Not to mention, Houston had Davis Mills in. They did not have C.J. Stroud. They did not have their starting quarterback in for that game. Clean game by the Texans. No turnovers, more first downs, less penalties. Scored in the red zone. That's what you want to see. Those are the things you want to see in a game. You want to dominate. You want to do better in the red zone. You don't want to have to go for it on fourth down a lot. They did lose the time of possession, but it doesn't matter because they sacked them 8 times. They turned the ball over 3 times. They didn't get penalized as much. They played cleaner football, and they won. And that is what's going to happen here again. Houston's defense is too good for Buffalo. Buffalo has no weapons outside of Shakir. I'm sorry, they do not. They have Dawson Knox, Kincaid, Keon Coleman. Absolutely not. I'm sorry. They have not been the same since Stephon Diggs left. They do not have that true wide receiver one that can get open when Josh Allen needs him. And that is going to really hurt them this game. Texans are going to win this one 20-17, and they're going to go to the Super Bowl. Yes. The Houston Texans are going to the Super Bowl. That defense is going to carry them. Defense wins championships, and we're going to see it here. It's going to be a very common theme in this playoffs. Defense wins championships. Yes, they do. Denver's did not, because Denver's has been really bad lately, and they do not get sacks. They are like bottom in the barrel of in sacks. I'm sorry, but that's not going to work against Josh Allen. So, just saying. We're going on to the third matchup of the year between the Rams and the Seahawks. Rams are traveling to Seattle as the playoffs go through Seattle this year. Third time. I think this game is going to be more like their first game. I think it's going to be more low scoring. One, it's in Seattle. It's probably going to be rainy. It's going to be cold. Okay? They're not going to put up 100 combined points like last time. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen, I don't think. One, McDonald has 2 games of film to go over and fix that defense, and I think he will. The Rams have been stifling, like I said. Yes, they will have 2 games to have fixed it and, prepare and play better. But I'm just going off of that alone. This is going to be a great game. I think Seattle's offense is going to be tested. Yes, their defense. We know it's the real deal. Yes, we know they can stop people. Yes, they can turn the ball over. Yes, they can get sacks. Yes, they can get 3 and outs. Yes, they have great special teams. But can Sam Darnold drive down the field and score when he needs to? So far, we've seen yes. Well, we've seen kinda. We have that overtime possession against the Rams where he went down in overtime and won the game. Yes, that was an amazing drive. I think that's his best drive of the year. He was cool, composed, didn't turn the ball over, obviously. Made great throws when he needed to, good decisions. Check down, run, throw it away, scramble, step up. Great drive. We saw it again against the Niners in Week 18. Clean, composed, made the throws when he needed to, didn't force the ball. Accurate. He really only missed 1 throw that night, and it was that first possession in the red zone. He had Charbonnet out like in the flat, and he just missed him. He just didn't throw it. He didn't see him, and he took a sack. That was, I think, his worst play of the night. Other than that, and that was the first drive. Other than that, he was damn near perfect. I don't know what's been going on with the Rams. They've looked really slow. I don't know what it's been. Matthew Stafford, at least in that first game against the Falcons, didn't look very good. He looked pretty good against the Cardinals. They've just been really slow. I don't know what's going on, but anyways. Yes, I am a Seattle fan. No, I'm not going to let it take bias. I'm doing a very deep dive into this game, and I think it could go either way. Easily. I think the Rams could dominate Seattle, and I think Seattle could pull out a win against the Rams again. And here's my reasonings behind it. Seattle's defense is superior. I think they have the best defense in the league. I think the Texans are right behind them, and then you could argue for the Eagles. You could argue for Denver. You could argue for someone else, but those are my defenses. And look where the defenses got these teams. They got the Eagles in the next round. They got Seattle to the conference championship. They got Texans to the Super Bowl. And they got Denver the bye week. Defense matters, and it's very apparent. Seattle was banged up in that last game, though. I will say they did lose some secondary players that they're getting back. They lost even Worry at the end. They lost Kobe Bryant. I think they lost even Reek for a little bit. I know they lost Job for a little bit as well. They didn't have Charles Cross for that game either. So that's huge. With that being said, I think Seattle pulls it out. I think Seattle wins 26-21, and they head to the Super Bowl. Like I said, try not to be biased. Seattle's defense is really good, and I think that's very important. Their offense is very good, too. And as we see, they can keep up with the Rams. The first game between these two teams, the only reason they did not win was because they missed a field goal last second. And they turned the ball over 4 times. Darnold threw 4 interceptions in that game, and they lost by a mere 5 yards, which they should have had in penalties. The refs missed some calls, but we won't. Not going to do that game of should have, would have, could have, because it didn't happen. In that second game, the Rams could have won easily. They were winning by a lot of points, and they came back. So, very evenly matched teams. I just think Seattle's defense wins them the game. I think Sam Darnold does enough. I think he plays it safer, and he just doesn't turn. If he does not turn the ball over, I think Seattle wins. We now have our Super Bowl. We have the best 2 defenses in the entire league going against each other for everything. 5-seeded Texans, 1-seeded Seahawks, heading down to good old San Francisco to play for the Lombardi. We have made it. It is now Super Bowl 60. We have the Seahawks and Texans playing for everything. We have the 2 best defenses in the league going head-to-head against pretty up and down offenses on both sides. So I think it's a very evenly matched team. I think the difference is Seattle's offense has been more consistent than the Texans has. Defenses have been even, and I think Seattle's special teams is just better than the Texans. But that does not mean anything because it's the Super Bowl. Anything can happen. And I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game. Very low-scoring game. I think both teams are going to be tested on their quarterbacks, Stroud and Darnold. I think whichever quarterback turns the ball over less and makes the biggest plays more wins. Whatever quarterback in one of these drives is going to be a drive for probably both. That they're both going to get a shot to go and win the game or to put them ahead by more or to keep them in the game. And I think whatever quarterback can make that drive happen is going to win this game. Because there is going to be a drive in this game for each team. And it's going to be about which offense and which quarterback can prevail and which one cannot. And whichever one does prevail will win the Super Bowl. Fortunately for those who like offense, I'm sorry, this is not going to be that game. You're not going to see 50 points put up by each team. You're not going to see 60-yard bombs, back to back and just going back and forth slugfest like the Bears and Niners game. You're not going to see that. I'm sorry. These defenses are just too damn good. You're going to see a lot of punts. You're going to see a lot of tight coverage. You're going to see a lot of 4th and shorts and 3rd downs. You're going to see a lot of turnovers on downs and punts and field goals. Short drives. This is not going to be one of those slugfests. Um, with that being said, I'm going to choose the better offense. Yes, I'm a Seahawk fan once again. I'm not trying to be biased. I really think this is very realistic. I have my Seahawks winning the Super Bowl 19-10 against the Texans. My reason being, I think Seattle's offense is just a little bit more consistent than the Texans, and I think their special teams is better. Shaheed, Myers, I think it's just better. The defenses are equal. I think Seattle's defense is slightly better in some categories than the Texans, but I think the Texans' front pass rush is absolutely insane. Utterly sick. So is Seattle's. I just think the Texans do not have as much of a chance, as good as a chance as Seattle does. These teams did play already this year. Seattle won. It was close, but it really shouldn't have been. The box score doesn't do justice for what the score should have been. I mean, Seattle had the game for a while. Like at halftime, it was 14-6, which isn't crazy. It's still a one possession game. Seattle just was weird in the second half. I don't know what they were doing. They were just really weird. They ran like a trick play and it got picked off and it was really weird. But they controlled that game for 3.5 quarters. They really only weren't in control for maybe half a quarter. So I think Seattle's a better team. This is my playoff bracket predictions. If you enjoyed this, obviously please support me, like it, comment what you think of my predictions, scores, wins, losses, what team I did not do justice, and which teams I overly criticized. Please let me know, because I love feedback. I love talking about football. If you have any thoughts, if you agree on my picks, or at least most of them, let me know as well. Just any thoughts, please let me know. But yeah, I could see this going a lot of different ways this year. I could see the Rams winning. I could see the Rams playing the Seahawks in the divisional round and winning and moving on, and the Rams. If it's not, I think the winner of the Super Bowl comes out of the NFC West. I'm just going to be honest. I don't think anyone in the AFC can face the top two teams in the NFC West. Sorry, Niners. You guys fucking suck. The AFC will dog you, pretty much everyone right now, except for the Steelers and maybe the Chargers. But that's what I think. I think the Super Bowl winners out of the NFC West this year. As much as I love the AFC, as much as I love the Bills and the Patriots and the Jags, I just don't see it, unfortunately. But the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl. Yeah. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy these picks. After this week and after the wild card predictions, if any of my picks are wrong, I will be going back through and doing it with the actual divisional round, and then the actual conference championship round, and the actual Super Bowl. So this is not the last playoff thing. But if my picks are all right, then I don't gotta do another thing because I'm right. So we'll see. Maybe you won't see another video. Thank you all for watching.